What if the millions you're expecting are actually keeping you poor? Most people spend decades dancing to someone else's tune just to stay in the will, sacrificing their best years for a payout that isn't guaranteed. We are exploring why rejecting your inheritance might be the smartest financial move you ever make. Are you ready to stop being a beneficiary and start being a founder of your own life? The golden cage you never noticed you were in? There is a version of financial waiting that looks from the outside like patience. You stay close. You attend the dinners you would rather skip. You bite your tongue on the career change that would thrill you because you are aware, somewhere in the back of your mind, that certain choices might not sit well. You tell yourself this is family loyalty, that it is love, that it is simply being a good daughter or a dutiful niece or a sensible person who understands that money is serious and futures are uncertain. But underneath the loyalty is something else, a quiet, chronic paralysis. The knowledge that a future windfall is coming if you behave has a way of making the present feel provisional. Why build aggressively when a safety net is on its way? Why take the risk that could change your life when the inheritance will smooth things over eventually? The promised payout becomes a reason not to act, not to leap, not to build. It becomes a gilded cage that you have mistaken for a waiting room. And then there is the shadow budget. This is the quiet financial distortion that happens when people in their 30s and 40s spend as though a legacy is already partially theirs. The assumption that something substantial is coming makes current debt feel more manageable than it is. It makes savings feel less urgent. It creates a false floor beneath your finances, and false floors collapse. The money that is coming is not yours yet. It may never be yours. Estates shift, relationships fracture, tax laws change. People live longer than expected and spend down their assets in care. The inheritance that has shaped your choices for 20 years may arrive as a fraction of what you imagined, or not at all. You have been building your life around a number that exists only in someone else's intentions, and intentions are not a retirement plan. The price you paid to stay in the will. Now name the strings, because they are there, even if they have never been spoken aloud. Think about the holiday tables you sat at while quietly disappearing into the role that was expected of you. Think about the partner you did not introduce until you knew how the introduction would land. Think about the city you did not move to, the business you did not start, the values you kept quieter than they deserved to be, because you were aware, always, faintly aware of what might be at stake. This is what conditional wealth costs. Not in money, in time, in selfhood, in the specific shape of a life that was built around keeping someone else comfortable enough to keep you in their plans. There is a calculation people almost never do honestly. They know roughly what the inheritance might be worth. They do not add up what they have already paid for it. The years of strategic closeness, the decisions deferred, the version of yourself you edited down to remain acceptable. If you did that accounting, the real one, the full one, the numbers might surprise you. And this is before we consider what the money itself will cost you emotionally when it arrives. Inherited wealth from someone who used it as a tool of control does not land clean. It arrives with a history. With the specific weight of everything it required you to give up to receive it. Some women describe the moment they finally got the inheritance as one of the loneliest of their lives. The thing they had quietly organized themselves around was finally there, and it felt like nothing, because what they had paid for it was not nothing. The founder, not the beneficiary. Here is the shift that changes everything. There is a version of you that has been waiting to be funded, and there is a version of you that decides to fund herself. The beneficiary version waits. She watches. She manages her behavior against an external benchmark she did not set. She is, by definition, dependent on someone else's longevity, someone else's goodwill, someone else's version of what she deserves. The founder version builds. She does not wait for a payout. She looks at what she has right now, her income, her skills, her time, her clarity, and she starts building something that belongs entirely to her. In 2026, this has never been more possible. Index funds accessible from a phone. Online businesses launched from a spare room. Skills monetized through global platforms. The barrier between a woman with an idea and a woman with an income has never been lower. The mental clarity that comes from zeroing out the inheritance in your long-term financial picture is difficult to describe until you experience it. When you stop counting on money that is not yours, your relationship with your own money changes completely. You stop spending against a future windfall. You start building with genuine urgency because you understand that everything you want has to come from what you create. That is not a frightening thought. It is a clarifying one. It is the thought that makes serious builders out of passive waiters. And the financial independence that follows does something else. It gives you the emotional strength to set boundaries with the people who used money as leverage. When you do not need what they are holding, they can no longer hold it over you. The control dissolves. Not because the relationship changed, but because you changed your position within it. What you are actually afraid of. Let us be honest about the fear, because it is real and it deserves to be named rather than managed. You are afraid of leaving money on the table. That is the phrase people use, and it is worth examining. Leaving money on the table implies that the money was yours to begin with, that you are simply failing to collect what was already owed. But it was never yours. It was always conditional. The table has a price, and you have been paying it for years. What you are actually afraid of is acknowledging how much you have already spent to stay at it. There is also the generational piece. The use of wealth as a tool of control is not something most families invented from scratch. It was passed down, often without anyone noticing, from a generation that used it the same way, who received it from a generation before that. The implicit message, behave correctly and you will be provided for, is as old as family itself. When you decide to step out of that pattern, you are not just making a financial decision, you are interrupting a transmission. And interruptions feel disloyal, even when the thing being transmitted was never serving you. But here is what becomes possible when you stop. Your children, if you have them, will not inherit the same dynamic. They will not grow up watching you edit yourself for approval. They will not absorb the lesson that love comes with financial conditions. They will see, instead, a woman who built something of her own, who did not wait to be funded, who decided that her autonomy was worth more than a payout she had not earned. That is a different inheritance. And it is one you can give them right now without anyone dying first. How to actually do this. The conversation, when you decide to have it, does not need to be dramatic. It does not need to be an accusation or a scene. It is simply a declaration of independence, offered with as much warmth as the relationship can hold. You might say, I have been thinking about my financial future, and I have decided to stop building my plans around any expectation of inheritance. I want you to know that so there is no confusion, and so you can plan your own estate without accounting for me. I am genuinely grateful for everything you have given me, and I am not going anywhere as a family member. I just do not want money to be part of what holds us together. Some people will receive this with relief. They did not want the obligation either. Some will push back because the arrangement suited them and your exit disrupts it. Let them push. Your answer is the same. I am not angry. I am simply building my own. What comes after this conversation is not loss. It is the most productive clarity most women describe ever feeling about their financial lives. Faster professional growth because the decisions you make are now truly yours. More honest family relationships because the transactional layer has been removed. Improved mental health because you are no longer managing a performance to protect a financial position. Your net worth, from this point forward, is a record of your own choices, not a reward for your compliance, not a prize for staying in character. It is yours built, earned, and belonging entirely to the life you are choosing to live. There is a woman on the other side of this decision who is building something she is genuinely proud of, who is not watching someone else's health to calculate her timeline. Who walks into family rooms without the specific kind of self-monitoring that comes with knowing something is at stake? She is not waiting to be funded. She already is. If this opened something in you that has been closed for a while, pass it to a woman who needs to hear it. And if you are not yet on this porch, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of conversation we have here. I am Patricia, and I will see you next week.